Okay, so today we are going to go through the 4 different stages of AI adoption for small and medium businesses. And I wanted to focus on this because there isn't a clear step-by-step roadmap of how companies should actually adopt this new technology, what are their core challenges in each of the different technologies, and how to actually surpass those and how to actually think about those problems. So that is what I want to address in this video. The first important key concept prior to discussing the different steps is about understanding the LLM black box. So the LLM black box is this simple concept, and the fact is that when we are dealing with a ChatGPT, when we are dealing with any kind of generative system, you are actually dealing with a black box. This means that the black box takes the information that you give as input, so the prompt that you give, and spits out an output. You don't have any idea about what happens inside the LLM. You don't know how it works. You cannot understand how it works. So so you can actually not control it. You don't have any control about that. So the actual thing that you can do, and the only thing that you can do, is about feeding the LLM high quality inputs in order to get useful responses. It's similar to the saying garbage in, garbage out. So here, what I need to do is actually giving valuable inputs. So here's an example that I have over here regarding email categorization. In the first example, you ask in the form of a prompt, categorize the following email. Hey there, Josh, can you send me the proposal that we discussed? This prompt goes to the LLM, and the LLM gives this response, category business communication. And this isn't a useful response per se, because maybe you are already dealing with business communication, so this might not be useful for you. In the second prompt, instead of what we did is we added choose between the following categories, and then added a couple of categories: proposal request, initial contact, core request. And as you can see, what we got out of the LLM is proposal request. A good response actually is something that we can use. And I'm stressing this concept especially right now because the input quality is what is underlying all the different automations, all the different prompts, all the different uses that you can do with the LLM. If you are understanding this key concept, you understand that when you are dealing with a bad response, it isn't a bad response because the LLM doesn't understand what you are saying. It's a bad response because the input that you give isn't related, isn't as specific, or isn't as good as it could be. Or the LLM doesn't have the information in that knowledge that could be as helpful for you. But that is another topic. So with that out of the way, I want to start by talking about the different stages. The first stage is stage 0. So you familiarize with the tool. You start to understanding what are the tools inside the market. And for the simplicity today, I will only speak about ChatGPT type tools, but there are also a lot of other enabled tools in the market. So the idea here is as simple as start going to chat.openai.com and start experimenting. The core objective of this stage is to actually get in a feeling and getting an understanding of how the tool works, and actually asking questions related to how this tool can be used. So here are a couple of ideas. Are there areas where the tool can help me in the day-to-day? Here I added a couple of ideas where I use the tool on a personal basis. I use it for planning, brainstorming, editing, ideation information, and so on. So a lot of different kind of information. Another key question that I think it's really helpful is what if I could do task with this tool? And this helps you imagine possibilities where you could actually use this. What if I could do email marketing content creation with this tool? What if I could do email categorization with this tool? This lets you focus on the actual task and about how you could actually solve the problem using the tool. And the last question that you could ask at this stage is, what are the areas that of the business that it could streamline first to that? What are the areas that require writing, or the researching, or categorization? So those are really helpful in order to think about the familiarization of the tool. Last point that I want to do is related to challenges that you could have in this initial step. The challenges are about overwhelm. So when you are faced with a tool such as ChatGPT, where you have an interface, you have an input, and you can ask anything you want in an input, it's normal to be overwhelmed by the sheer amount of possibilities and ideas that you could have. But I think the best solution here is to identify one specific idea, one specific task, and then focus on that and focus on how you would solve the task using this system. And the other thing is not getting the expected responses at the first try. And that is especially why I wanted to mention the LLM black box out of the way. The input is the most important thing. If you haven't got the results that you wanted, it's probably because the input isn't as good as you think. And yes, other problem, as I mentioned, could be information. It could be outdated information because it's trained, like ChatGPT, for example, is trained up to 2022. So there's a lot of stuff also on that side. But other than that, especially in tasks such as categorization, in tasks such as output formatting, and a lot of other stuff, this key concept is key. The second stage, or stage one, if we want to call it, is creating structure about around the tool usage. So in this stage, you already started to use this technology. You already started to use ChatGPT regularly. You recognize the potential. You recognize a couple of tasks where you could use this tool, and then you start putting structure for getting consistent inputs and consistent outputs out of your task. This is especially where you start getting into the world of prompt engineering, and when you start to get into the world of prompt templating. So prompt engineering is around understanding how to effectively build prompts that give you great results, and you can also iterate on those prompts, and you can get better and create even better results over time. And prompt templating is about creating a structure for you and for the team in order to use the LLM and generate consistent responses over time. So for example, if you have multiple people that work on the copywriting, you could have the same prompt that could be used by everyone, and everyone could use this specific prompt to get a specific result. And the goal here is alignment between you and all the members of the teams about how to use this technology to get a usable output every single time. Here I also added a couple of challenges. So the challenges are, as before, getting valuable responses. So here we enter in the world of prompt testing, so iterating on a prompt and getting better up at the input, and then prompt engineering, which is a single thing. And the second thing is about organizing prompt in an effective way. So what you could do is you can adopt a structure that is called goal, task, prompt, where you start with a goal in mind. So what is the goal? What is the macro goal? You divided the goal into subtasks, and for each task, you define a specific prompt. But I will go into that in the future by building a prompt library that you can actually use. The second stage is about automations. Automations means you transition from using the actual tool and going to the tool, copy-pasting the different prompts, and instead you develop and design AI-powered processes for your business. in the stage you stop focusing on the single task, you start focusing on the single task, and you think as the process as a whole, and about how we can actually use AI to solve the problem. And I would say in this part we can categorize two different topics and two different elements that we can use. The first one is AI automations. So those are actually automations that use AI as a tool in order to simplify different processes. So it's AI plus a bunch of other tools that enable to get the job done in a faster way. An example here could be, as I mentioned before, email content calendar. So in the previous stage, what you were doing is you go to ChatGPT, for example, you copy paste a prompt with all the information about the brand that you're working in, and come up with valuable idea that you can use for the email marketing calendar. Meanwhile, in the current stage, what you can do is you build an AI automation like the following that I have outlined over here, that based on onboarding information, based on input that you select in different part, create a content calendar and now outputs that in Google Sheets. So in that way, you remove yourself from the part of getting the results from ChatGPT, filtering the results, and outputting the results in your specific document where you will use those. But this is just an example. This could be used in any different way. And the other part is custom chatbots and Copilot. And here we talk about using AI for enable chatbots that are used for specific functionalities. A couple of ideas here are content support, personal shopping, Q&A, and really a bunch of different use cases. A couple of examples could be handle different parts of customer support and let a couple of others be handled by the person. Chat with the famous person, the old AI persona thing, which I will also show how to create with a full tutorial end-to-end, and then chat with your data. If you have different PDFs or different text files that you want to use as a basis, you can chat with your data here. The important part in this automation stage is that you create an automation that gives you a result, and you only need to double check the result and see if that is good or not for the output that you need. The key, the human feedback and human touch is key, especially here, especially at this stage of the AI journey, where we don't have technologies that are like so powerful that they can do everything on their own. I think it's always important to have a human in the mix that understands the process, that double checks and then makes correction, makes settings, things like that. The last step here is about investing deeply, and this is probably a more technical step where a lot of companies are like very further away from it. So this is about focus on fine-tuning LLMs. So that means training your own LLM on your own data to fit the specific needs that you might have. You augment your workflows further with knowledge phases. You improve your knowledge bases. All those are kindly very technical concepts. All things that the major companies already did, like the Amazons, the Facebooks, and all the Googles and all the other companies, but will take a lot of time for smaller players to do that, because there are still not technologies that enable these use cases in a quicker way. So in this part, it's mainly about getting the team, getting the technical infrastructure and technical knowledge, and letting the team handle the processes and creating a whole department around the automation thanks to this. But this is very far away in the future. So That's it. Hope you have a clear idea about different steps, about what things you can actually do at each step. And I'll talk to you soon with the next video on AI and how to use AI in the best possible way.